Emmeline Pankhurst history. Emmeline Pankhurst was a prominent British suffragette and women's rights activist. Here is a brief history of Emmeline Pankhurst. Early life. Emmeline Pankhurst née Goulden was born on July 15, 1858, in Manchester, England. She came from a politically active family and grew up in a household that advocated for women's rights. Marriage and activism. In 1879, Emmeline married Richard Pankhurst, a lawyer and supporter of women's suffrage. Together, they had 5 children. Emmeline's involvement in social activism grew, and she became increasingly focused on women's rights. Formation of the Women's Social and Political Union WSPU. In 1903, Emmeline Pankhurst founded the WSPU, an organization dedicated to fighting for women's suffrage through direct action and civil disobedience. The organization became known for its militant tactics and slogan deeds, not words. Suffrage campaign. Pankhurst and the WSPU played a crucial role in the suffrage movement. They organized demonstrations, protests, and acts of civil disobedience to draw attention to the cause. Pankhurst and her fellow suffragettes faced arrests, imprisonment, and forced feeding during hunger strikes. Increase in militancy. As frustration grew over the lack of progress in gaining the right to vote, the WSPU adopted more militant tactics. This included acts of vandalism, hunger strikes in prison, and clashes with law enforcement. World War I. When World War I broke out in 1914, Pankhurst suspended suffrage activities and focused on supporting the war effort. She encouraged women to work in essential industries and rallied for the war against Germany. Representation of the People Act 1918, Pankhurst's efforts and the sacrifices made by suffragettes during the war helped shift public opinion. In 1918, the Representation of the People Act was passed, granting voting rights to women over the age of 30 who met certain property qualifications. Continued activism and legacy. After the suffrage movement achieved some success, Pankhurst continued her activism, advocating for social justice issues, women's equality, and other political causes. She passed away on June 14, 1928, shortly before the Equal Franchise Act was passed, granting voting rights to all women over the age of 21. Suffrage movement leadership. Emmeline Pankhurst emerged as a dynamic and influential leader within the suffrage movement. Her passionate speeches and charismatic presence inspired many women to join the cause. The Votes for Women slogan. Pankhurst popularized the slogan Votes for Women, which became a rallying cry for suffragettes across the country. The slogan was prominently displayed on banners, sashes, and other suffrage materials. Imprisonment and hunger strikes. Pankhurst and other suffragettes faced numerous arrests and imprisonments due to their militant activities. While in prison, Pankhurst and fellow suffragettes staged hunger strikes to protest their treatment and demand political recognition. The Cat and Mouse Act. To counter the suffragettes' hunger strikes, the government passed the Temporary Discharge for Ill Health Act, also known as the Cat and Mouse Act. This act allowed hunger-striking suffragettes to be released temporarily to regain their health and then re-arrested once they were stronger. International suffrage movement. Pankhurst's efforts extended beyond the United Kingdom. She traveled internationally, speaking at suffrage events and conferences to promote the cause of women's suffrage globally. Legacy and inspiration. Pankhurst's activism left a lasting impact on the women's rights movement. Her dedication to the cause and her willingness to confront the establishment have inspired countless women and continue to be celebrated as symbols of courage and determination. Commemoration and honors. Emmeline Pankhurst's contributions to the suffrage movement have been commemorated in various ways. In 1930, a statue of Pankhurst was erected in Victoria Tower Gardens in London. She has been featured on British postage stamps, and her name is often invoked in discussions of women's rights and social justice. Influence on future activists. Pankhurst's activism in the suffrage movement paved the way for future generations of women's rights activists. Her fearless and unwavering commitment to achieving equality continues to inspire individuals and organizations fighting for gender equity worldwide. Emmeline Pankhurst's tireless efforts and leadership within the suffrage movement played a significant role in securing political rights for women in the United Kingdom. Her legacy as a trailblazing advocate for women's equality remains an essential part of history.